Chapter 1. The Clash of Fates. The wind howled over the jagged cliffs like a chorus of mournful spirits, carrying with it the acrid scent of smoke and iron. Below, the kingdom's army clashed with the rebellion, steel ringing against steel, cries of valor and agony interwoven. Amidst the chaos, a figure stood atop the cliff, cloaked in black, her eyes glinting with ruthless precision. Selara. They whispered her name with fear, awe, and hate. The villain of the kingdom, the one who orchestrated attacks that left towns in ashes and soldiers trembling. She watched the battlefield with a predator's calm. Every movement, every tactic unfolded as she had anticipated. And yet, there was a ripple in the chaos that she had not accounted for. A flash of silver. A knight cutting through the enemy ranks like a blade through silk. His armor gleamed even in the smoke-filled dusk, his movements precise, almost inhumanly graceful. There was a purity to his actions, a righteousness that irritated her even as it fascinated her. Selara tilted her head. He was alone yet surrounded by enemies. Perhaps a challenge? She descended with a fluid motion, every step deliberate, a shadow weaving through smoke and chaos. The knight's eyes, clear and unwavering, met hers. There was no recognition, no fear, only the unwavering stare of someone who had never faltered in his duty. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice calm, even as a soldier fell at his side. "And you shouldn't be standing in my way," Selara replied, her tone equally steady, a hint of amusement flickering in her crimson gaze. The clash was inevitable. Steel sang against steel as Selara struck with elegance and deadly intent, her dagger a whisper of death. Yet the knight moved like water, deflecting her blows, parrying with a precision that betrayed a lifetime of training. He did not hesitate, did not falter, and did not kill her, at least not immediately. And then it happened. A magical trap, an arc of searing energy meant for soldiers behind him, veered dangerously close. Selara's eyes widened for the briefest moment. Instinct, or perhaps some hidden shred of conscience, spurred him forward. He threw himself between the blast and her, taking the full force. She froze as he crumpled to the ground, smoke curling around his body. His armor was scorched, his breath shallow, but his eyes, those unwavering golden brown eyes, still held hers. "You saved me?" Her voice was almost a whisper, disbelief threading through her venom. He coughed, a faint smile breaking the stoicism. "I couldn't let you die. Not like this." Selara's mind raced. Villain she was, ruthless to the marrow, yet the world felt suddenly tilted. The knight, the righteous, untouchable Kael, had thrown himself into death for her. She should feel triumph or contempt, but instead a strange, unfamiliar warmth gnawed at her chest. Gripping his shoulder, she dragged him away from the chaos, her mind spinning with questions, resentment, and something far more dangerous. Could she care for someone like him? Someone she had every reason to hate? By the time the smoke cleared and the battlefield settled into a tense quiet, Selara was carrying him through the shadows, the villain's mask slipping imperceptibly. Beneath it, the first threads of something dangerous, something human, were beginning to weave. And Kael, barely conscious, murmured, "I've waited a long time for this moment." She frowned, tightening her grip around him, unaware that their fates had just entwined in ways neither of them could yet comprehend. Chapter 2. Captured by Circumstance. The forest was a dark tangle of twisted roots and whispering leaves, the canopy above filtering the fading sunlight into fractured beams. Selara moved swiftly, almost silently, her boots brushing the forest floor as she carried Kael in her arms. His weight was substantial, but he was unconscious, limp against her chest, and yet heavy with the presence of someone untouchable, someone she had only ever imagined up close. Her mind churned. He shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have saved me. And yet, the thought gnawed at her pride, at the carefully constructed armor of her villainy. Kael's armor bore scorches from the magical blast, and his breathing was shallow, uneven. Selara knew she couldn't leave him here, not if she wanted him alive, not if she cared. though she wouldn't admit it. The lair she led him to was hidden deep within the cliffs, carved into the stone itself centuries ago by some long-forgotten order. It was dimly lit, furnished sparsely, but every corner spoke of strategic thinking and meticulous planning. She set him down gently on a cot in the center, her mind still wary of his potential to escape, or worse, expose her. He stirred slightly, groaning, his golden brown eyes fluttering open. He focused on her immediately, unwavering, as though he had expected her all along. "Selara," he rasped, and the sound of his voice made her chest tighten. "You shouldn't have." "I saved you because it suited me," she said, her tone sharp, almost defensive. Yet the lie felt hollow even as it left her lips. "Don't get used to gratitude." Kael's lips curved into a faint smile. "I'm used to things. You don't know." Selara froze, her fingers brushing the straps of his damaged armor. There was something in his calm, in the measured weight behind his words, that unsettled her. He had never known fear, or perhaps he had mastered it in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. She busied herself with tending his wounds, her hands precise and deliberate. Each movement was calculated, but her thoughts betrayed her. Why does his presence feel necessary? Hours passed in silence. The occasional hiss of fire from her hearth, or the distant groan of the mountainside settling, filled the void. Kael's breathing steadied, but he didn't speak, only observing her with those unwavering eyes, as if cataloging every motion, every flicker of emotion. Finally, he spoke again, his voice quiet, almost too gentle. "You don't have to do this for me." Selara looked up sharply, her hands freezing mid-motion. "I don't." "Then why?" His gaze pierced her, calm but insistent, weighing her soul. Selara's mouth opened, closed, and then she muttered almost to herself, "I can't let you die." The words startled her more than they did him. Kael's faint smile returned, a flicker of something unspoken, approval, amusement, or perhaps recognition of a shared understanding neither had named. "You've been watching over me," he said finally, each word deliberate, measured, as if he had known her answer before she even spoke. Selara's eyes narrowed, suspicion rising. "What are you talking about?" Kael's gaze softened, but there was a weight to it that made her heart thrum in a way she hated. "All my life, I've always been aware of you. I wouldn't let harm come to you. Not entirely." The air grew heavy. Selara felt the strange pull of unease and curiosity intertwining. The villainous mask she wore so comfortably suddenly felt too tight. There was more to this night than she had ever imagined. More than mere righteousness, more than honor. And for the first time in years, Selara felt uncertain, vulnerable, and intrigued. Kael's eyes held hers unwaveringly, calm, patient, and far too knowing. "Rest," he said softly. "You've earned a pause from scheming, if only for tonight." Selara hesitated, her pride clashing with the strange warmth blooming in her chest. Yet she nodded, retreating to a corner to observe him, her sharp mind cataloging his recovery, his quiet strength, and the undeniable pull he had on her. For the first time, Selara realized she had saved Kael, and in saving him, she might have begun saving herself from the only life she had ever truly known. Chapter 4: Confessions in Shadows. Night had fallen, and the lair was bathed in the pale glow of moonlight filtering through the jagged stone openings. The fire she had maintained earlier had dwindled to embers, leaving the room quiet except for the occasional crackle and Kael's soft, measured breathing. Selara moved silently around him, her mind restless. She should be angry at him for being there, angry at herself for the strange pull she felt toward him, angry at the weakness she sensed in the thoughts now crowding her mind. Yet, she was not. Kael had been patient all day, quietly observing, speaking only when necessary. Yet his presence was a weight, pressing in on her consciousness, pulling at her thoughts in ways she refused to name. He had saved her, not once, but twice. and she could not forget the way he had crumpled before her, so utterly vulnerable yet unafraid. She recalled his words from earlier, spoken with that calm, unwavering tone. "I've always watched, not to control, not to punish, only to ensure." Ensuring her survival. Even now, the thought unsettled her. For all her cunning, all her manipulation, someone had been shadowing her life with intent so singular and relentless that it bordered on obsession. Kael, the righteous knight, the hero of every story. And yet, it was the truth in his gaze, the soft, persistent heat behind his stoicism, that unnerved her more than any sword, any trap, any betrayal she had ever faced. Selara. Kael's voice broke her reverie. He was sitting up slightly, leaning on his arms. "You're thinking about me again." She turned sharply, eyes narrowing. "I am not," she said, voice sharp but betraying the faintest flicker of awareness. Kael's lips curved, the slightest knowing smile that both irritated and unnerved her. "You've been silent, restless, watching me as much as I watch you. Admit it." Her hand tightened on the edge of the table, the urge to manipulate, to twist, to regain control surging. "Perhaps I am calculating your usefulness," she said, letting the words drip with venom and pride. "I am not weak, Kael. I do not admire." He chuckled softly, low, almost melodic. "No, Selara, not admiration, obsession. The difference is crucial. I have lived in the shadows of your life for years. Every plan you devised, every danger you walked into, I've been there in some form or another. And yet, I never stopped you. Why? Because I care. Because I cannot let the world harm you, even if you are the world's villain." Her chest tightened. The fire inside her flickered. Care. The word tasted alien, dangerous. It undermined her strength, her cunning, the ruthless identity she had built. You would risk everything?" she whispered, almost afraid of the answer. Kael's golden brown eyes met hers, steady, unwavering. "Everything. For you, always." For a heartbeat, Selara was silent. Then she laughed, dark, bitter, sharp. "You are insane." "No," he said softly, leaning forward slightly, voice measured, calm. "I am devoted. I am patient. I am yours, whether you want it or not. That has always been my choice, long before you even noticed me." Her fingers curled into fists. His words, the honesty in his obsession, were a threat she could not parry. He was a hero. He was noble. And yet he was unhinged in ways that matched the dangerous, twisted world she navigated daily. He could not be controlled, manipulated, or predicted. He simply existed, unyielding and entirely fixated on her. For the first time, Selara realized something terrifying. She was fascinated, and the pull toward him was dangerous. It challenged her, weakened her, and yet thrilled her. "I am not yours," she said finally, voice tight, attempting to reclaim control. "Do not mistake my tolerance for weakness, Kael. I am not to be tamed." Kael's smile was patient, gentle, unnerving. "I do not intend to tame you. I intend to be with you, even if it means standing in your shadows, even if it means facing your darkness. I've loved you longer than you've known, longer than you care to admit, and I will not step away." Selara turned, unwilling to meet his gaze, feeling a strange heat rising in her chest. The villain she had always been, the manipulative, ruthless force of nature, was being slowly unraveled, not by sword or spell, but by a stoic knight whose obsession burned beneath his calm exterior. For the first time, Selara felt something foreign, dangerous, and undeniably thrilling. "What have I done?" she thought, her mind dark with questions she wasn't yet ready to answer. And Kael, ever patient, watched her with quiet intensity, letting the silence stretch between them. He didn't need to push. He only needed to exist, and that alone was enough to pull Selara further into the storm of emotions she had long denied. Chapter 6. Shadows and Hearts. Selara sat across from Kael, her dagger resting idly on her lap, yet her mind was far from idle. The events of the past days, the battles, the care, the confessions, had stirred something she had long buried, something she had never allowed herself to feel. Kael sat across from her, stoic, calm, yet radiating an intensity that made her chest ache in ways she refused to name. His attention, constant, unyielding, had followed her into the shadows, the corners of her life she had long considered untouchable. He had seen her, not the villain everyone feared, but her. For Selara, that was terrifying and intoxicating. No one ever paid attention to me like this. The thought struck her with brutal clarity. Growing up as an orphan, she had learned to manipulate, to fight, to use fear and cunning as shields. Attention, affection, care. These were luxuries she had never known. And yet here was Kael offering it. Twisted, obsessive, dangerous, but undeniably sincere in its own way. She glanced at him, watching the faint rise and fall of his chest as he rested on the cot. He hadn't moved to touch her or demand anything. He simply existed, unwavering, present. Even his obsession, the darkness lurking beneath his stoicism, felt protective. Somehow, in the strangest of ways, it felt safe. "You've changed," she muttered, almost to herself, her voice low. Kael's gaze lifted, calm yet piercing. "Changed? Your devotion. It's twisted, obsessive, terrifying, and yet Her fingers clenched into fists. She couldn't finish the sentence. She refused to admit how much it mattered, how much it affected her. Kael leaned slightly forward, voice gentle but firm. "And yet, you feel it. You feel the care you've never had, the attention you were denied. You feel what it means to be noticed, even if it scares you." Selara froze. How could he know? But he did. Somehow he had always known, always watched, and now, with every calculated word, every measured glance, he was shaping her feelings, forcing her to confront the truth she had long denied. I am not weak," she said sharply, standing abruptly. "Do not mistake my hesitation for vulnerability." Kael's eyes followed her, patient, unwavering. "I do not mistake it. I see it. I see all of you, Selara, your strength, your cunning, and the parts you hide even from yourself. You've survived by being ruthless, by being untouchable, but I will not let you hide from me, from what you feel." She swallowed hard, the edge of her villainous mask faltering. His words, his calm, his terrifying devotion, it was unraveling her in ways no enemy, no trap, no battle ever had. The orphan she had once been, the girl who had clawed her way through a world that had abandoned her, the woman who had embraced darkness as armor. She was feeling something dangerous, something raw. "I've never had anyone care for me like this." The thought lingered, forbidden, as she turned away from him. Yet she could not deny the pull, the warmth, the danger, the twisted intimacy of Kael's obsession. It was shaping her, changing her, making her consider what it might mean to let someone in. And as Kael rose, slowly, calmly, and stepped closer, Selara's breath caught. Not with fear, not with disdain, but with something she had never imagined possible. The dangerous, undeniable stirrings of affection. For the first time, she questioned not only Kael's obsession, but her own heart, and the line between villain and hero, between darkness and light, had never been more blurred. Chapter 7, Redemption and Darkness. The horizon burned with fire, casting the cliffs in harsh orange and red hues. Smoke rose in tendrils from the kingdom below, carried by the wind like a signal of chaos and death. Selara stood atop the jagged rocks of her lair, daggers drawn, every muscle coiled and ready. She could feel it before she saw it, the subtle shift in the air, the tension that meant only one thing. Kael was coming, and not in the gentle, patient way she had grown used to. This time he was not calm. He was resolute, focused, and utterly terrifying. The intruders had come again. Soldiers from the kingdom, trained killers, and mercenaries. Hunters who knew of her reputation and sought to destroy her. But Selara was ready. or so she thought. Kael appeared silently behind her, his armor catching the firelight in a ghostly shimmer. His presence was as steady and calm as ever, but she felt the undercurrent of his obsession, sharpened into something lethal. The man who had allowed himself to be harmed, who had let her care for him, who had stood patiently by her side, was now the predator that she had never imagined. "You don't have to fight them alone," he said softly. Selara's eyes narrowed. "I never asked for your help, Kael." "I know," he replied calmly, voice like steel beneath silk, "but I won't let anyone harm you." It was not a threat, it was a promise. The soldiers surged forward, their weapons flashing, but Kael moved like a shadow, precise and merciless. Selara felt her chest tighten as she watched him cut through the enemy, not just with skill, but with a cold, terrifying devotion that sent shivers down her spine. Every strike, every kill was deliberate. He spared no one who threatened her. Selara had always considered herself ruthless, unyielding, the master of manipulation and death. But standing beside Kael, watching him in his dark glory, she realized something she had never admitted even to herself. He was more dangerous, more devoted, more unyielding than she could ever be. And yet, the fear it invoked did not repel her. It drew her in, ignited something she had long buried under layers of cruelty and cunning. "Kael," she whispered, stepping closer, though not without caution. His eyes met hers, golden brown and unflinching, shadowed with obsession and something dangerously like affection. "Do you trust me?" Selara's lips pressed together, torn between pride and desire. Trust him? I've survived by trusting no one. And yet, the memory of his calm patience, his willingness to let himself be harmed, his unwavering devotion even when twisted, flashed through her mind. The orphan girl she had once been, the villain she had become, all of it had led to this moment. A man who would do anything to protect her, who had let her touch him, care for him, influence him, who had shaped her heart with his obsession. I do, she admitted, barely audible. Kael's lips curved, a faint, almost predatory smile. Then stay close. Together, they fought. Side by side, their movements synchronized in ways that even Selara had never anticipated. Where she struck with cunning and precision, he struck with ruthless devotion and calculated obsession. They were two forces of nature, dark and light intertwined, unstoppable and terrifying. The last of the soldiers fell, and silence returned, broken only by the crackle of fire and the pounding of their hearts. Selara looked at Kael, her chest heaving, her mind racing. The villain she had always been, the woman who thrived on control, manipulation, and fear, felt something she had never felt before: vulnerability, connection, desire. Kael stepped closer, his gaze softening just enough to break through the walls she had built around herself. "You are not alone," he whispered. "You never were." Selara's dagger slipped from her fingers, clattering to the stone floor. Her chest tightened. She realized with an almost terrifying clarity that she wanted him, his obsession, his devotion, his dangerous, unwavering love. She wanted him in ways she'd never wanted anyone before. Kael reached out, cupping her face, his touch firm yet gentle. "I've loved you from the shadows," he said, voice low, intimate. "I've protected you, watched over you, and yes, I've been unhinged for you. But every moment, every action was because of you. And now, I want nothing more than for you to see me as I see you." Selara's breath hitched. Her villainous mask, the one she had worn for years, was gone, shattered by the intensity of his devotion, the weight of his obsession, the unflinching honesty in his eyes. She stepped closer, pressing against him, letting herself be vulnerable, letting herself feel. I don't know how to be this," she whispered. "You don't have to," he replied, holding her, steady, unwavering. "Just be with me. Let us be together." Her lips trembled, and she let a rare, genuine smile break through the shadows of her past. For the first time, she felt not only desire, but recognition. In Kael, she had found a force as unrelenting, as dangerous, as devoted as herself. Only his darkness was tempered by obsession, hers by cunning, and together, they were unstoppable. The night stretched on, filled with whispered confessions, careful touches, and the knowledge that their bond, twisted, obsessive, dark, and profound, had finally solidified. Selara's villainy remained. Kael's obsession burned brighter than ever. But in each other, they had found a mirror, a storm, and perhaps a kind of redemption. As dawn broke over the cliffs, painting the lair in soft gold, Selara realized that for the first time in her life, she was not alone, and Kael, stoic and terrifyingly devoted, would not allow her to ever be. In the aftermath of fire, blood, obsession, and dark devotion, their hearts were no longer separate. Villain and hero, manipulator and obsessed savior, two souls bound by danger, intensity, and the promise of something neither had ever experienced, love forged in darkness. And for the first time, Selara allowed herself to hope,